Hello, everybody. My name's Milan Starcic. Welcome to Freedom Rising, a podcast dedicated to empowering individuals on the journey to personal growth, lasting serenity, and freedom from addiction. Tune in and join the movement. Your journey to freedom starts here. We neither represent, promote, or demote any 12-step program or organization. We are merely souls on the path of recovery with the desire to expand our lives and experiences and share them with you. Hello, everybody.
What's up, guys?
Welcome to the 90-second Recovery Freedom Rising podcast. I'm Milan Starcic with co-hosts Andrew Norman and Jeffrey W. Welcome, Jeffrey, and thank you so much for joining us here on the program. Could you tell us a little bit about yourself?
My name is Jeffrey. I'm an alcoholic. I live in the Okanagan, beautiful Peachland, British Columbia, and that's where my home group is. My sobriety date is October 15th, 2023. And my recovery journey, I guess, started, yet again, I burned my life to the ground. This time was different. I had done that before, but this time I came out of a blackout and found myself in a different situation. I was in a COVID quarantine cell at a correction center here in the Okanagan. Um, my drinking had got me in trouble before, but something felt different about this, and it was sort of at the tail end of COVID, so I was forced to be in a lockup for 23 hours a day for my first week in there. Um, when I was allowed out for that 1 hour a day, I was led into a slightly larger cell, and there I found some literature that had a word on it that I really disliked, and it was the word alcoholic, and it was on a book called Alcoholics Anonymous. Um, I at first tried to put that book down, but I was shaking so bad I kept dropping it, and I decided to crack it open, and I found from the doctor's opinion, it's very early in that book. Probably within the first paragraph, I had an experience that was profound for me. I actually thought I was reading about myself. I think the three little words that got me the most was restless, irritable, and discontent. And that book had me hooked. I paced around that cell for about 7 days, and I think I read the first 164 pages 3 times. In those 7 days, I was locked up, and my life has never been the same since. So that's a little bit
So,
about me.
I would say then you might have answered my question that I normally ask everybody, but was that then the pivotal moment that the program sparked a recovery fire in your heart?
Absolutely. Well, actually, I mean, yes, that was. I wasn't considering quitting. I wasn't considering I had a problem. People have been calling me an alcoholic my entire life. They always described an alcoholic as somebody who drank too much. For me, I think fundamentally inside, I knew that there was never enough. So I think I knew I had an issue. There was never enough. There was never going to be enough something outside that I could put inside that was going to fix how I felt when I wasn't drinking or using. I wasn't considering stopping, even at this point, facing time in jail, possibly prison. It wasn't until I started reading that book, but I think the real pivotal moment that you're looking for would have been about 2 weeks later when I was finally finished my classification inside and I got assigned to a housing unit. Um, I walked in, like I was thinking about this book, this insane book called Alcoholics Anonymous that I read, and they let me take it out of that holding cell with the bookshelf. Um, I also ended up finding a copy of the 12 Steps, 12 Traditions there, and there was three little copies of the Grapevine magazine. So I bundled those all up and took them with me. And I finally got into my housing unit. But when I walked in, I had been alone this whole time. Now I'm being led into a housing unit with 35 other guys, and they all stand in a row like you're going to walk the gauntlet and they're going to size you up. When I turned to my right, there was a little tiny table with a blank piece of paper with two big capital letter A's on it. It was a sign up sheet for an AA meeting inside. And I just remember dropping everything they'd given me, man. I didn't really even know what an AA meeting was. I've like heard about it, but I dropped everything they gave me. This was going to be my life for the next however long I was in there. They couple cups, plastic knives, forks. I just dropped it. I didn't care. And my hand, like, I just signed up on this list for this AA meeting. And there was enough room on this list, I think, for 20 names. There was none on the list. I was the first and only guy to sign up for that meeting. Um, I got to attend a Zoom meeting inside. It was probably another 2 weeks before I got called to this meeting. And because they weren't allowing live meetings to be brought in to this place, um, they they had little laminates for the readings. And this particular meeting, they would read chapter 3, more about alcoholism. And they asked me to read. By this time, 2 other inmates did show up. There was 3 of us, and then about 3 volunteers on a Zoom meeting, kind of like this. And they asked me to read more about alcoholism. And when I read that reading, I actually cried for the first time in 30 years. When I was 15, I was diagnosed with alexithymia. It's a condition where something traumatic happens and you make a decision and your psyche breaks and you lose the ability to cry. I was diagnosed with that. And after 30 years of not crying, I broke down when I read more about alcoholism because I related so strongly to what I read there. So that's the moment for me.
Beautiful.
I love that. Thank you. And thanks for coming on here, Jeffrey. Okay, I'm going to start with the topic today is surrender. And I'm just going to start right into the question. So I'll ask you first, Andrew. You're all good with that?
Yes, sir. Absolutely.
In surrender, we do not lose ourselves. We uncover the self that fear and control kept hidden. What are you discovering, or who are you discovering yourself to be now that you're learning to surrender?
It's a great question, Milan. First off, Jeffrey, thank you for being here. Thank you for being vulnerable with us. This is how we heal, coming on here and sharing and being honest with each other. And it allows our hearts to connect. It's a very special thing. So thank you for coming on here and being vulnerable with us, and giving us some time. This surrender process is a cornerstone, if not the cornerstone of recovery. It's kind of that first thing that we get hit with when we get into the rooms of the 12-step fellowship that we attend. And it's not a one-time event, for me at least. It's kind of one of those ongoing emotional and spiritual things that I have to continuously let go, right? And it's an act of letting go. And you talked about control, Milan, in your question. Surrendering allows me to let go of that illusion of control. It allows me to understand that I am not in control of what is ultimately going on here. And when I can do that, it allows me space for some peace, man, to reflect on this process. If I can surrender and let go, we've been hitting a lot on this surrender topic, and I didn't want to open that up immediately, but surrender has been kind of like my go-to here the past couple months, because our guy said it, man. This is a program of surrender, not self-improvement. And
Yeah.
I'll take that one to the grave, man. If I can out surrender this thing, then I know that gosh, I'm gonna start everything I'm doing in a better mindset, because I understand that I'm not really in control of what's going on. I cannot act and then try to reel back and accept after I've acted under accordingly. I can accept it as if I willed it to be that way, because I'm in this mode of surrender, right? I don't have control over anything. And I heard somebody say one time, like, the moment you think about control, you're out of control. The moment we start thinking about control, you're out of control. And so the being able to surrender and actually let go, admitting I'm an addict, and then go, hey, I got to turn this thing over to the God of my understanding, who I choose to call God. He woke me up this morning when he saw fit, not when somebody told me to. He let me go to sleep last night when he saw fit, not when somebody told me to. So as long as I'm doing that, that control, because as an addict, man, I want to control everything. And if I'm not in control, then good luck interacting with me, right? Because I was just a nutbag in active addiction. So yeah, it allows me to drop that illusion that I have control over everything. And then what that does is it gives me a space of calm, a peaceful place that I can reflect on my process and actually get some things done in the right way, right? Jeffrey, you were able to actually read that book and kind of clear everything out of your mind, and you were able to cry for the first time in 30 years, man. I mean, that's beautiful, man. It's beautiful when we start reading these things that we know it's about us, right? And you start reading it, and you're just like I hate reading, but this literature is God's love letters to me. I read them like they're poems. It's like they're so beautiful to me and so true as it rings on my head and my tongue. They're just amazing. So I'll pass that to you.
Okay, Jeffrey, in surrender, we do not lose ourselves. We uncover the self that fear and control kept hidden. Who are you discovering yourself to be now that you're learning to surrender?
Oh boy. Um, well, geez, that's a tough one. Everything since I think I surrendered like when I decided to open the book, but I hated the title. Um, I had all that contempt prior to investigation. I think just from the first pages and seeing and then reading the whole 164 and seeing basically my life laid out before me, um, I found out I was an alcoholic and I did not know that. Um, I had other things that I would have admitted for sure. I probably would have been able to admit that I was an addict because drugs are part of my story. For some reason, that wasn't an issue for me. But this alcohol thing, I was not going to be an alcoholic. So, I've learned that I'm an alcoholic. I've learned that there's a solution. In the time I've been in recovery, I'm learning everything almost for the first time. Like, I'm a year and a half sober. I don't have a huge amount of time behind me, but I'm finding everything I thought I knew about myself, or the things I liked or the things I didn't like, it's all different now. I'm learning new things every day. Every single day, I'll hear a type of music I never thought I would like. I love it. I'm reading different books. I mean, everything is new and every day is new. And I think I'm still in that sort of early recovery. Um, yeah, I'm not really sure. I'm finding out every day a little bit more about who I am. Yeah.
It's a definite journey,
I said work in progress, he said.
yeah.
Yeah.
In surrender, we do not lose ourselves. We uncover the self that fear and control kept hidden. Who am I discovering myself to be now that I'm learning to surrender? I don't know where I heard it a few months ago, but it was in someone's share, and they were talking about how like we are these diamonds, like we're still these shining beings, even in the midst of our alcoholism and our addiction. It's just like we covered it up, like we've tarnished it or something. And I really like that because I do believe that somewhere that true self is still in there. It's the self that knows we're making mistakes, and like how many times did you make a mistake, know it, and just be like pushing through for that addiction at some point or another? At least for me, I remember that. Like I remember knowing I was taking forks in roads of principles, in my life, and disregarding it from addiction. And you know, they say, I was listening to the speaker tape today, and the guy was, he was saying, at any point where you're pretending to be somebody else, it's not only a lie, it's selfish. Like it's selfish for you to want to be able to control my image of you, and it really kind of just hit me. I was driving home listening to that today, and I just thought, wow, like how much how much selfishness there was in the picture I was trying to paint, and the things that I thought people were believing. Like the number of times that I thought I looked straight, and I look back at a picture and I'm like, oh my God, was I ever just wasted? Like, who was that bloated, drugged out? Like, how I could have thought, like, come on, Mr. Basketball pupils, settle down, you know. But, you know, what I'm realizing is that, I'm learning about myself in the same way that you are. Like Jeffrey, our clean dates are 15 days apart.
I'd say
I
y'all are
skipped,
close, aren't you?
yeah, October 1st, 2023. Like September 30th, my heart stopped in a hospital in Vancouver, and then I began my journey, and that was my turning point for myself. And every time I think I'm learning something right now about myself, I'm getting turned back around a little bit. Like this whole thing with surrender. Like surrender is like, ooh, go back it up, man. Back it up. You got to give it up. And one thing I'm learning is that I didn't have very many honest principles inside the program. And now it's like I'm going forward, and I'm trying to honestly be able to actually see myself. Like what am I doing? What is right? What is wrong? And there's a lot of points where I'm like, whoa, I would be doing that just to be a people pleaser. Like, when you're saying that, oh, you didn't know what kind of music you like and all that. I felt like, man, exactly. Like, I make a lot of music and record it, but it's like some days I'm like, whose song is that? You know, it's not my song, that's for sure. And I think that's one of the beautiful things, though, is that through this program, we have the rest of our lives to really discover who we are.
Yeah.
And one thing I have discovered is that I'm a person with recovery fever, and I'm burning up.
Ooh-wee, I can see it
Okay, I'm
radiating
gonna
off of you.
pass that for you, Andrew, to ask a
Awesome.
question.
Absolutely. All right. So I'm coming to you, Jeffrey. I'm going to ask you first. So, in what areas of your life are what areas of your life are still unmanageable, even in recovery with over a year and a half clean, sober?
That's a great question. Relationships. um, I got, yeah, that's a big one. I mean, I was with and engaged to be married, well, and actively using and stuff with my fiance. When I got sober, she didn't necessarily want to join on that journey, sort of thing. We struggled through it. She would try to get sober. Um, I actually had 11 months sober prior to my now sober date. I went out um, due to different reasons, but relapse is part of my story. A lot of it had to do with me having that experience that I had with the big book, and then trying to be like someone else's higher power and trying to save people. Um, that's been an issue with me in recovery is white knight syndrome, I think. I wanted to save everybody. And you come out of the gate kind of like a reformer and a bit of a preacher. And I think that, our literature, all the literature I've read, warns us about that, but I fell prey to it for sure. So that's
I love that
relationships.
honesty.
Yeah.
Oh, you're muted, Andrew.
They call them in our room sometimes relationships. Sometimes because all right, I'll ask you now, Milan. In what areas of your life are still unmanageable, even in recovery with over a year and a half clean?
Man, first of all, like my emotions, man. Like, I still feel like quite really up until quite recently that, that I was still trying to drive the bus on the removal of my defects. And I've had some really profoundly powerful moments through through changing my technique of prayer recently, actually, and it's brought about some like really emotional shifts for me. Um, so I'm not feeling necessarily a strain on that, but that has been, kind of the most recent things, and remaining present, presence, and we've said it on the show a lot of times, but I truly, for myself, the only moment you can be consciously connected with your higher power is right now. And so if I'm having anxiety, that's because I'm in the future. Anytime I'm feeling anxious. And so that's definitely something that is disconnecting me, and then I'm acting out on defects from it, and so I'm trying to pull myself back to presence, and doing that through prayer, meditation, exercise, gratitude, like those three wrapped right up, are really those are the things that are turning my mess into some message.
I love that. I love that. And I love you, man.
I
I
love
love
you
you.
too. It's good to see you, brother. It feels like forever.
I know we were talking earlier and we were just like, man, I miss you, buddy. I miss you, man. I wish you were like right down the road so I could mess with you, like on my way home, like come and hang something off your mailbox or something just to mess with you.
This lady was like, "Hey, where's that guy from?" And you're like, thinking you were gonna show up at a meeting. I'm like, Virginia Beach."
Have I ever seen him at a meeting we've gone to? That's crazy. That's crazy. All right, so I'm gonna answer that. So what areas of my life are still unmanageable, even though I'm 3 days out from being 3 years clean? You need to come to my 3 years too on Saturday, buddy.
Saturday. What time?
At 10 p.m. Eastern, meeting makers. I'll send you the link. So
Okay.
10 p.m. Eastern, my time will be what, 8 o'clock your time, or 3 hours behind? Are you 3 hours?
It'd be 7.
7.
Yeah.
I'll remind you. So look, so there's a couple of areas that I still deal with in terms of that I struggle with. One of them is I'm overthinking things constantly, man. I tend to overthink things, and that's where that control comes in, right? And it's good because I'm working, I'm always working on step work, and that keeps me present when I start thinking about being in control of a situation or manipulating something for control. I have to ask myself, Jeffrey, like when I do something, like, am I doing this to get a response, or am I doing this out of pure love and a pure loving place, right? Because if I'm doing it just to get a response, I don't need to do it. I don't need to say it. I don't need to act on it. It's just me trying to have control to get a response out of you. But my mind still races, man. And I can kind of fall into that over obsession and overthinking um, that gets me overwhelmed and disconnected from that God of my understanding. My brain is not my friend, man. My brain is kind of like disconnected from the rest of it. We talk about this a lot. Addiction is an obsession of the mind an obsession of the mind and an allergy of the body. And what we're trying to do is kind of connect both of those two things. And I just feel like, as an addict coming into this thing, they're complete. It's like they're two separate entities. And what we're trying to do is find some kind of blending agent. It's kind of like if you have like Italian dressing, you got oil and vinegar. You got to find something to get those two to mix well, because they just sit one on top of each other. It's kind of how my brain sits on top of my body, and I have to train my mind to be stronger than my emotions, or I'm gonna lose every time, Jeffrey. Like my emotions get the best of me every single time if I'm not in check with that part of it. So that brings me into the emotion part of it, man. I can get caught up in fear, self-pity. And so when I'm able to surrender, it lightens those emotions. You hit on relationships, man. Relationships are all, it's one of those unmanageable things that, if we want to manage it, especially if it has to do with another human being that's in our life, or that's adding some kind of value to our life, we naturally just want to control that, because they're going to have their own way of thinking. We're going to have our own way of thinking, that they don't always mesh. I don't care how close y'all are. Y'all aren't going to be thinking the same way at all times. And so I've got to stay um, steady in my program, knowing that whoever I'm dealing with has their own program or not, or whatever, and know what they bring to the table. And I have to draw those healthy boundaries today. No is a complete answer. And sometimes silence is a complete answer too. I've been told by my sponsor, right? Like sometimes you just gotta let people go if they're no good for you. Um, because again, I can't be in denial about what I am or where I came from or who I am and where I'm trying to go. You surround yourself with the people you want to be like. When I came in here, I got hope and love from these people, and I surrounded myself with people that I wanted to emulate, right? I saw people that had what I wanted, and I just started trying to follow that their lead, right? And that's this program that we're in. These programs that we're in are so special, so special. We can go anywhere in the world and feel at home, right, Jeffrey? And home is not a place; it's a feeling. I can go anywhere in the world and feel at home and stay clean and sober, whatever, 1-2 hours at a time, and helping myself out while maybe sharing and helping somebody else out. I mean, you're crazy to think I wouldn't. That's not where I'm going to be. So I'm just grateful that God put me in a place to be able to hear that message that this is where I want to be, and not living up under a bridge anymore, man, because that's no fun, man. So I'll pass that to you, Jeffrey, to ask.
Yeah, Jeffrey, do you want to ask me a question?
Yeah, sure. Milan, how did you know this I don't know if this is your first time in recovery or, well, how did you see this as a surrender rather than a ceasefire?
Well, so basically, I went to bed on, it was already past midnight. It was into like September 30th. And I felt like there was like, those ramps that you would drive a quad up onto a truck on, that kind of corrugated metal. I felt like there was the corner of that clamping on my chest and I couldn't get air in. And I like gasped enough to get my roommate to get me an ambulance there. And, through the struggles of that, I got right to the point of dying and not like there was no light at the end of my tunnel. There was nothing but cold. It was dark. It was scary as fuck. And when I woke up the next morning, it was like there was like this relief. It was like a forced surrender had occurred inside me where it was just like, I don't have to do this anymore. Like, I don't have to fight this. And I'm telling you, like, I haven't had a compulsion or desire to use since. And it like, it wasn't like, oh, maybe I'm going to try this again. Like, I don't ever want to go back to that moment. And now, especially with what I found out, I got into treatment 13 days later and I was there for 35 days. And by the time there, they had taught me enough about the program that I knew I loved it. Like, I knew I loved it to bits. I had spent 17 years having problems in my life where I was like white knuckling it from alcohol and quitting this drug and substituting with that drug. And after 17 years of blatantly failing, it was like when my heart stopped, that was the ultimate failure. And I was like, I think it's in the 12 by 12 where they kind of make that reference to like the Japanese in World War II. Like mine was a complete defeat. I wasn't even looking for terms. When my wife's like, "You're going to a treatment center," I was like, "Okay, just let me organize life so that we have a life for me to come back to." But I'm in. So yeah, I knew it was a complete defeat for me, and it felt like a real relief right away. For me, surrender felt like that feeling like, after you have an orgasm where it's like, that was really good. I'm so glad that's how. Yeah.
Love that, man.
Okay. You want to ask Andrew the same question?
Yeah, I'll take the question. I'm absent-minded as well. I'm gonna always need that question. Thank you, Jeffrey.
Yeah. You want me to ask it?
Yeah.
Please.
Yeah. Andrew, what was it like for you when you knew that it was a surrender versus a ceasefire?
And that's a really good question. As when you asked that the first time, I started thinking about what exactly those two things are in relation to each other, and it's really cool how I started formulating that in my head. At first I thought if I could just stop lying, stop cheating, stop using it, and all that stuff, that I was going to be okay and I was going to be like healed or something like that. And I realized, and that would be like a ceasefire, right? Just putting that weapon down, like if we're at war and putting that weapon down. But then, but a ceasefire in this recovery process is almost like putting that weapon down, so I don't have any weapons to defend myself, but keeping that war in my heart, right? It's like not. Does that make sense? I mean, that's how I kind of related it to. Is like, hey, I'm putting the weapon down, but I'm gonna still have this animosity and have this way to try to complicate my way out before I even get in here. And I realize that's not enough, because what a ceasefire is essentially that's temporary, right? A ceasefire is temporary, and this recovery. When you get into recovery, there's nothing temporary about this recovery thing, man. Our diseases are not going anywhere, as we read. And you're a literature guy, Jeffrey, man. You hit on literature within the first couple of minutes when you started talking, and I'm connected to you right there because I'm a literature guy, man. This literature, I don't understand why people would come into any 12-step fellowship and A, not work the 12 steps of that 12-step fellowship, and B, not read the literature, right? They want to wonder why they have problems relating to what we're saying. Read the literature, please. And I'm not saying that like as an asshole. I'm just saying that a lot of those questions that you ask that you might seem are silly questions, if you read the literature, a lot of that stuff gets answered, especially if you read it in a context with other people, some kind of literature study or some other person. That's when you really, really pay attention to what you're reading. You're not just throwing the words up there in the air. It's very, very important that you read whatever books are in relation to whatever fellowship you're in. So I treated surrender like it was a truce with my life, right? I tried to control everything. I held on to that fear and the pride and the ego. Pride stands for one of the primary reasons I die early, PRIDE, and ego, edging God out. Gotta let God in, man. Gotta let your God in. But no more white knuckling, man. Surrender is not white knuckling. I had to let go of that illusion of that I was in control of anything, right? If I can surrender, I got to out surrender this thing. It is way easier to out surrender this process of before it catches up to me, rather than trying to work on what everyone else and myself is telling myself I need to work on. And so it's not just about using drugs, because when I stop using drugs, I'm still here and I am the problem. It's me. And so when I stop using drugs, all these character defects are coming out ways that I didn't know, A, that they were even there, B, what they were, and C, how are they coming out in that way that I didn't even notice it, right? And so that's where you just got to I have to surround myself with people that will call me on my bullshit. It's not about riding my wave today. It's about keeping me alive. So, yeah, love you guys, man. That was a great question. I like that. Now you got to answer.
No, I got to answer. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
So
you got to answer your own.
How I knew it was a surrender, not a ceasefire. Again, I think I have to bring it back to literature.
Yes, my guy.
I had never really, well, actually, if you would have asked me, I would have thought I had tried to quit many, many times, right? Like I had tried to quit, but it wasn't until reading, I think it's chapter 3, more about alcoholism, where it talks about um, I wasn't really trying to quit. I was trying to control and enjoy it. And I didn't realize that until I saw all these things laid out that we tried to do to control and enjoy it. I would have thought I was having, I was trying to quit. I would have thought I was surrendering before, but I mean, I was, laying down the weapons, but I think with full intention of picking them back up again, as soon as the heat was off or as soon as this, because I never really conceded to my innermost self that was really the problem. My surrender, like when I had that moment, like Milan mentioned, where it's like that, like done, just done. It happened, I think, quietly while I was reading literature and relating, and I just went, yeah, I am. an alcoholic. And it almost feels to me like I didn't surrender. I feel more like I was surrendered, you know.
I
It
know
was
exactly, man.
something came out of me and I was done. And I struggled a little bit with step three, like, well, not with the higher power issue. I didn't have an issue with that, but um like feeling like I'm making a decision that I didn't make. It was made for me almost. You know what I mean? I don't know. I don't know if this really relates to my question so much, but yeah, I think the realization that holy shit, I had a lot of ceasefires rather than, and I was just trying to figure out how to fit this in, how to fit my alcoholic life into the rest of the world. Cause I just, surrendering was not an option, man. Like it just wasn't a thing. Never crossed my mind. And I took this thing to the gates of insanity and death. Like, my last year drinking, I drank around the clock, sitting at a table. Blood flow and circulation was dying. My left leg turned black. They, I finally went to get it to look at. They were talking about amputation from the knee down, and I just would go back to the liquor store to think about it. You know what I mean? Like, even that wasn't enough to surrender, but that did lead to another ceasefire for a slight bit, and things got a little bit better before, you build up another good outlook for yourself and then tear it all down. And yeah, and then I end up in jail. But yeah, I don't know. I think I'm rambling about that, but I can see now where I had ceasefires, and I can see now where whether I surrendered or I was surrendered, I'm free. And it's a pretty joyous thing.
Beautiful.
One thing about this show is that you don't necessarily have to answer the question. You just have to speak how you get inspired. So the point is not to necessarily answer the question. Sometimes I don't even know what the question is by the end of what I'm saying.
Yeah,
You know,
right.
it's kind of whatever, whatever it takes you in a kind of a spiritual inspiration, to be honest. And I just want you to feel comfortable about meandering. Sometimes the meandering is what brings the best juice to the table. Like,
Right. Yeah.
once I learned about reservations inside the program, right? My 17 years of white knuckling, man, I had a reservation every time I said I was quitting. It would be like, okay, except for this birthday coming up there, or like there was always a planned, like they were real feeble ceasefires, is what I had for myself. Okay, Andrew, I'm gonna ask you another question.
Mhm.
Okay. Surrender is the silent strength that says, I don't have to do this alone anymore. How has asking for help brought unexpected strength into your life?
Wow. So asking for help. So, Mr. Jeffrey, if you don't know this, I hang my hat on love, unconditional love, and humility. They're like my two jams, if you will. I've got that double barreled like super soaker. You got love in this one, you got humility in this one. And so I learned really early on in this process that asking for help is not a sign of weakness, and that together we're a lot stronger than I am, and I started, when I talk about the humility part of it, um, like they always say, like men are too embarrassed to ask for directions. They're too prideful to ask for directions. Like what? Like if you're lost in some place you've never been, and potentially you could run out of gas, or like there's harm that could be done, and you're going to be too prideful to ask for directions and how to get to that gas station or something, like that was me in active addiction. Like I wasn't going to ask for directions. I was just going to run it till the wheels fall off. Somebody's going to come pick me up or whatever, right? It was just a careless way to live. um but I started realizing, man, when I got a sponsor and started asking for help, and it took me failing a lot before I would ask for help, and then my sponsor would back me up and be like, bro, like, you realize what you just did right there, right? Like, yeah, you didn't have your shit together for whatever it is that you committed to, but like you called me and you asked for help. A, I'm fucking proud of you, man, like for doing that. And B, like that's what like he just kept instilling in me like that's how we do it. Like if somebody has something you want in these rooms, ask them how they did it. People love talking about themselves, right, Milan? We
Ooh.
love talking about ourselves. And so if you ask open-ended questions to somebody that has multiple things that you want, I guarantee you they will tell you exactly how they did it and how to do it yourself. And a lot of times we just won't. We'll just watch them from afar. And I'm talking about maybe before we got into this process and maybe started realizing that that's how normal people do things, Jeffrey. That's how people get in this places in this world, right? We ask for help. We have teachers coming up in school, and when we don't know something, we raise our hand and we ask for help. We take tests and we get them wrong, and then what do? They show us the right answers to the ones we got wrong, and we learn. And that's what as a human being, that's what we have to do to grow and get stronger. Like as soon as we think we have this thing figured out, Jeffrey, we're done. As soon as we think we have this whole thing figured out and we don't have to ask any more questions, and we're not teachable anymore, you might as well shut the show down. You might as well shut it down because um, I have a progressive disease. I have a disease that is not going anywhere. But as I read more and more literature, my books are telling me that my recovery can be progressive as well. It has to be in my case. It has to be more progressive than my disease was because my disease is not going away. But I don't want to die because of this disease. I want to die with it. It's a big difference. And so that allows me to understand who I am as a person again. I had to burn this bitch down to realize who I was as a man again. We're becoming people that we've never been before, Jeffrey. It's a special process, and a big part of that, especially for me, is asking for help. It is not a sign of weakness, man. It's actually a sign of strength. If you can be humble enough and ask like one of your enemies or people that you might not fancy for help, and they tell you how to do it, and bro, that's one of those little mini wars that you win that you don't tell anybody about. That's special. It's special. So thank you for asking that question, Milan, and I'll pass that to you, Jeffrey.
Okay, Jeffrey, surrender is the silent strength that says, I don't have to do this alone anymore. How has asking for help brought unexpected strength into your life?
Um, yeah, I wouldn't have asked for help ever before. Prior to coming into the program, um, I was very much in isolation. Always, my whole life, I was like that. I always thought I could solve my own problems. I always thought I could do it all. Even when it's just clear, I was too full of pride, too much ego, too much fear, whatever. I would not let anybody know I needed help. I had family members just constantly trying to help me, and I was, oh, I'm fine, I'm fine, I'm fine, right? Um, I think the first time really like almost in my life that I could consciously remember asking for help was the time that I asked my first sponsor to be my sponsor. That was like one of the hardest things I've ever done. It was so awkward. It was weird. I've heard speakers joke about it's like a guy asking another guy out on a date, and it was, man. It was that.
To the prom, man, to the
It was
prom.
that. It was that awkward and weird, and but I think that might have been the first time in my life that I asked another man for help. And that things just got really, really good. This guy happened to be a guy who loved the big book as much as I did, and it turned out to be a really good pairing, and we hung out all the time. And he walked me through line by line through this book that I'd already fallen in love with. Um, Changed my whole outlook on the way I read it versus the way reading it with another person. I started having the ability to pick up the phone. That was a tough one, and I struggled. Like I was sober for 11 months before I had a relapse, and then came back. But um, this time around, I think I learned a lesson through that I didn't necessarily utilize my sponsor the way you should in this program. And this time around, I'm working with a different sponsor, but I stay connected. We talk every day, if like almost every day. And now, um, I'm at that point where, I mean, my obsession was gone, like just taken from me. But I got a lot of unmanageability. I got my defects of character that we're working on through the steps, and I can ask the guy how he did it, just like what Andrew was saying before. And I actually do want what this guy has. That's why I asked him to be my sponsor. He gives me advice on stuff that's not even necessarily related to recovery, because he's done a lot of things in life, and it's helped me through many issues. But like, it can all be related to my step work too. Like, some of the things he's been through in his financial life has helped me make some financial amends, stuff like that. It's changed, like it's opened up a whole, like, the ability to ask somebody for advice is like, man, I'm 45 years old. If I could have done that when I was like 18, like,
Like a
life could have been a
superpower.
lot different. Yeah. Yeah, it's
Oh
just
yeah.
everything, man. Yeah.
Yeah. Great
Yeah,
answer.
so surrender is the silent strength that says, yes, I don't have to do this alone anymore. How has asking for help brought unexpected strength into my life? Well, I mean, geez, I wasn't even thinking about asking my with my sponsor, but man, when you say that, like I can remember that feeling like, shit, man, is he gonna say no? Is he gonna say no? Like I remember thinking, okay, now's the time. There's nobody talking to him. I better get up there because I don't want to ask in front of everybody. And then he says no. Like it's an awkward thing. To anybody out there who's never done it, just you wait.
It's like asking to go to prom.
Yeah, it is. It is absolutely. But man, through my prayer right now, I'm asking for help every single day. But I'm coupling that with gratitude now, which was not as integral part of my prayer. And now, like I'm like a born again prayer person on praying gratitude for the things I don't have. It has been the most fundamental change in my program. Like taking that surrender of just like even the lack of I don't know what it is, man, but having gratitude, trying to put gratitude in every situation, even when I'm hurting in it. And it is like right now, I'm telling you, like bringing tears to my face while it's happening. Like it's incredible to me right now. And so, that strength though, that strength isn't mine that it's talking about bringing in that question. That strength is coming from without, like it's a totally almost undescribable thing. I'm kind of probably just garbling it, and you guys are like, he's sounding crazy. But the truth
Love it.
is that right now, for me, magical miracles are happening due to me adding infinite gratitude for things I don't have yet inside my prayer. Just being grateful for that smidgen of like control of like my anxiety. Like, sometimes I've had some crippling anxiety because I got a lot of wreckage in my past. I had a lot of wreckage, and there's just days where it felt so overwhelming, but yet I still didn't crack and completely fall apart. And that was the starting point, in a conversation with my sponsor where it was like, hey man, like, he's like, I might be crazy if I was you right now. Like, you're coping extremely well. And I was like, he's like, how do you expect him to give you better coping when you're not even grateful for what you're doing? And I was like, damn, you're right. Back to the drawing board. So anyway, I think that's what I'm going to say for that. Andrew, you got another question?
I love that. Was beautiful, Milan. That was really, really cool,
I
man.
had
That
a
was a
little bit
good little
befuddled.
spin.
I'm
A little spin.
overwhelmed with befuddlement.
That's beautiful. It's just a little spin on it that I've never really thought about, man. It's beautiful. Thank you for bringing that to light for me, man. All right, so I've got a question for you, Jeffrey, coming to you. Let's see, where did I put it? Yeah, so what is it? What spiritual tools do I use to stay connected?
What spiritual tools do I use to stay connected? I like to stay close to this design for living as laid out in the big book. That works for me. So I do my own awakening. I kind of start with prayer for sure, right away. Meditation. Meditation for me currently is, I like the definition of giving my most thoughtful attention to something. So I do readings, right, through literature and different daily readings. I do a lot of writing. I really struggled with the writing part of this program. It was hard for me to get things on paper. So part of my morning is to start in gratitude. I do a gratitude list. I make sure that I reach out, whether it's to my sponsor or a sponsee or somebody else in recovery, just to connect. There is something about the power of identification in this thing, like how I identified with what was written in the big book. Was enough to basically bring me to my knees and have my surrender. I get a little taste of that every time I'm talking to somebody who I can relate to in the program, somebody in recovery. Um, they just always seem to say something that I needed to hear. It blows my mind. So staying connected is huge. I have to practice the principles of basically, I was laid out in the book. Like when I get agitated, and I get agitated a lot, I have a lot of defects of character that I'm working on, and some of them have been removed almost as nicely as my obsession with alcohol, due to my surrender. But some of them takes more work. But the fact that I'm willing to and paying attention to these things, where I can pause through the day when I'm having a rough go and pray for the person that I'm pissed off at. That I didn't think that was
Love that.
possible. I did not think that was possible. I've been a believer in my active alcoholism, but I prayed selfishly. I didn't ever. It never crossed my mind that I can pray for another person, or especially somebody that I'm angry with, and that I get instant relief from that. It's amazing. I basically have to use them all. I'm a real alcoholic, and I need the full meal deal basically as it's laid out. I try my very best. Um, Fail constantly, um, but every day I get to reset. Every day I get to resurrender. That's a important one too, for me, is really realizing that this is a one day at a time thing. That was hard to get my head wrapped around. So resurrendering, um, yeah, yeah, that's
I
kind
love
of
that, man. I love that, man. That was a beautiful answer. Milan, you ready?
I'm ready.
All right, man.
I'm
Well,
ready. I love that. I'm really glad you're here, Jeffrey. I love you
I am
guys.
too. I'm too,
Thanks
man. It's
for
been really
both of
cool.
you for being here. I'm having a great time.
Love you guys, man. So what spiritual tools do you use to stay connected, Milan?
To stay connected. Now, connected. Hold on. I need. Okay, there we go. Okay, he's pointing. He's like, got the power, the higher power. Man, so I mean, I was just talking about it, but my prayer's taken a real turn for the positive. I'm really, really trying to focus now at the positive side. Like almost like when you do your step 6 and you're like, okay, well, I don't want fear, so I want to have love. So I'm trying to look towards the positive of in my prayer. Like Thank you for the love that has gotten me to where I'm at now, you know, and not giving like my anxiety, my fear, all those other things power in it, you know, and trying to be bringing that connection through gratitude because it's really miraculous how much that works for me in my own action, you know, and when I can actually surrender that anxiety, I'm now present, and that gives me more of a tool for my connection with my higher power, you know, and the meditation is an integral part because I'm starting to try to learn to listen for an answer. And that was just something that I could not turn my brain off in that way. And you know, for me, I'm kind of a crazy fidgety hummingbird. You'll see, like you guys are just sitting there normal, and I'm like, I'm like on like 16 miles on my fucking watch sitting here. This hummingbird has a hard time landing, and so you know, one of my best results with meditation for myself is when I'm playing music because I can actually just get myself to like a blank point of action, like where I'm like muscle memorying it and just that connected to the present moment. And then I'm there, like, and then it feels really good because otherwise I'm just like do it fidgeting and that's distracting even to me.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
and you know, it's like I was saying earlier where I feel like we're this diamond that shines. It's like I have this connection. All I got to do is renew it. You know, like that connection to the universe. I remember that feeling like when I was a little kid. I remember it. And I remember feeling disconnected in my life from everything at points inside my alcohol and substance abuse. And it's just like bringing myself, like letting that shine again. You know, like when I'm out walking my dogs, man, I live somewhere real beautiful. Like and it's just like, I'm like, whoa, check out that and that and that and that. And that makes me feel connected to the universe. You know, like one of the speakers I was listening to today, he's like, you know, he's like, God is all or nothing. You know, like there's no like the God of North America. Like, you know, he is, and so really for me, I really enjoyed when he said that because for me, my literal higher power is the entire universe and its energy. Like, so, I mean, whether you want to put a G word on it or not, it doesn't matter to me because I know what I call it, you know? And I know that I'm connected to it because I feel it. I feel it all the time. When I'm looking around and I'm loving it, I feel like it's loving me back. It's like, hey, I'm like amazing. And it's like, I know. I know. It's like, I know. Like, I'm just a little universe I'm working on over here. And I'm like, yes, keep working on it because I'm loving it.
That's
I,
awesome.
but yeah. So I think that's my answer to that.
I love you, man. I
I
love you
love
so
it too.
much, man. All right, cool. So let's see. What spiritual tools do I use to stay connected? That's a great question, Andrew. I'll answer that. Prayer. So the meditation thing is a little wonky to me still. Prayer and meditation, you know, when I pray, that is my form of meditation. Obviously, I work on my breathing. You know, breathing controls my thoughts. I learned that a long time ago. Just you know, just that's it is what it is. I was told a long time ago when we get anxious and we start feeling in that anxious, uncontrollable feeling that we get, it's because a lot of times we stop breathing and we don't even know it. You know, we'll be so tensed up, maybe in a social situation, and we stop breathing. So I gotta concentrate on my breathing. And I had a therapist a long time ago that taught me to just notice things around the room, you know, the clock, the radio, and just describe them to myself and then concentrate on my breathing. And it changed my life. I've talked about that a couple of times on this podcast that I hated that dude. I hated that guy, man. I didn't want to be in that guy's room at all. But looking back on it, I realized why that dude was sitting in that chair, man. And he really has helped me out now. Looking back at what he kind of made me do when I was sitting in his office, I'm going, man, I'm supposed to be getting answers from you, and you're not giving me any answers, and I'm not feeling good. Like, what the hell are we doing? And the guy's like, I need you to look around my room and look at the clock. And I'm like, bro, I need to go. I need to go. Can you sign my piece of paper and get out of here? Because this is crazy. And it's crazy, man. God, and everybody's in their own spot. Everyone is coming from a different place, but the prayer piece, as long as you have a God of your understanding, we can all meet at square one then, because we all have our own understanding of what that is. Writing, you hit on writing, Jeffrey. Through the pen, I see the light. My sponsor says that to me all the time, man. Through the pen, I see the light. A lot of us think that we think these grandiose things, or we think these goodwill intentions that God just hears it, and then that means we acted on it. Now, writing that stuff down, in inventory. Let's talk about an inventory. And I was going to roll into that, the daily inventory. Step 10. That's the way I stay connected. I lay in bed at night and I step 10, whatever the hell I went through that day, and I kind of see what I need to do to correct myself, whether it's something I need to act on immediately before I go to sleep, or if it's something that I can put on that list for when I wake up to take care of. So I don't layer those things up, and then what I have something to put on that that list or inventory on my next round of steps. That's not my goal. My goal is to continue that upward trajectory and to stay positive. A body at rest stays at rest. A body in motion stays in motion. As long as I'm staying positive, doing the right things, and doing that inventory, staying honest with myself, doing the right things, regardless of who's looking, because God's always looking. And that's where it comes into, like, talking to other addicts. The best way out of my own head and my own disease thinking and my own manifestation of that in depression is a simple conversation with another person. It does not have to be another addict either. I can go talk to the neighbor and then get out of my head. I can go do something nice for somebody. And it really, service, connection, community keeps me out of that place that I don't want to be. So talking to addicts is probably the quickest, easiest way for me to get connected back spiritually, whether I'm hearing something from them that puts me in that grateful spot again, because I'm realizing that my shit is not as bad as I think, or if I'm helping them out, I'm gonna naturally feel better about what the hell I'm got going on, and it gets me out of my head. So, and then service work keeps me connected all the time, because service work keeps me clean. Service work is a posture of the heart. I have a loving heart, man. I spread that love around. So if you're telling me that this is one of the most loving things I can do to be an act of service to this fellowship, then, man, I'm all in. I'm of service at a lot of home groups, Milan, aren't I? I hosted a lot of home groups.
Yeah.
I'm a service dude, So, and it's not about having our name on the banner either. It's just about maintaining an atmosphere of recovery and keeping the doors open, because my predecessors did that for me. They prayed me in these rooms. I can't let them down. I can't let myself down, So that's what keeps that ball rolling around for me.
Nice.
Well, your turn to ask a question, Mr. Jeffrey.
Yeah. Milan, are there any fears or crippling anxieties related to this whole concept of surrender?
Wow, yeah. I mean, and that's pretty much what was happening is that, I was trying to be like, hey, thanks for the surrendered addiction, higher power, but I'm going to try to work on fear and anger and anxiety. You're probably busy with the universe, and you did such a good job on addiction, that I think I'll take over from here. I saw what you did, and I think I could do it myself.
You're busy.
Yeah,
Go ahead, man.
But it seriously ended up kind of maladjustedly turning into that. And so, I've had some real different sicknesses and things happening with family members that have like been crippling in fear and anxiety, and 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 then on top of that, really like a pretty close call so far, like with almost losing our house. And I built this house 11 years ago, and it's like not just home to me, it's home to me, my wife, my daughter, my father-in-law, my mom, my dad. And like it is something that I got an attachment to, like for sure. And um and so there's a lot of anxiety on that. And it's really honestly through this process of the praying my gratitude for everything that I finally actually found any relief from any of that stress and anxiety. Nothing else was working, nothing else. And it was to a crippling point. And it's really just turned the corner and really just made me see the direction that I need for me to take my program in. Like I not like even more than a gratitude list. And it's like, because a gratitude list was like, for me, was like, I got my home, I'm happy for water, I'm happy for my family, my dogs. Like there was all this fun, like this stuff that I am grateful for. But never on the list was, the little bit of coping skill you gave me, my my half second of ability to not be angry and explode. That I'm grateful that I didn't hit that guy when I wanted to. Like, but those little things are actually pretty fucking miraculous compared to who I used to be. So it like the surrender is like, I've got this tattoo here on my forearm that's acceptance. I'm pretty much, I was going to put love on the other forearm, but I swear I'm going to put surrender on it now, like,
Bro,
because
he's a hater. You're a hater-aid, man.
no,
Love is the strongest word in the world.
I'm just, but you know what? I don't have a problem loving people. I'm having trouble with acceptance and surrender. I need my reminders. Like how many times have
Right?
people bought something because they saw the commercial? Well, here's my commercial to myself.
Disappointed in you.
Oh, you know what? I'll get
I'm
love
just
right
kidding.
across
I'm
the
just kidding,
chest.
brother.
I'll get
I'm
love
messing
right
with
across the chest.
you. I just gotta pump love up all the
Yeah,
time, man. My bestie.
yeah. Okay, you want to ask Andrew now, Jeffrey?
Yes, please.
Andrew, do you have any like fears or anxieties sort of tied up in this whole concept of surrender?
Um, that's a really deep question. I almost have to check myself at the door every day on that piece. If I feel like if I ever have an answer to that question, then I'm kind of putting myself in a position that I don't need to be. I need to understand that every day is a new day, right? And I'm in a just for today program. I have a daily stay of execution as long as I'm tapped in spiritually. It says based on my spiritual condition, I have a daily stay of execution, a daily reprieve, which is a stay of execution, right? I can put this thing behind bars, Jeffrey, as long as I stay tapped in spiritually, right? I have the ability to take that key and throw it away. Um, but then, strange things happen, right? People, inmates break out of jail. Our addiction breaks out of jail. Whatever, found the other master key. Who knows how, they 3D printed a key and got out. Who knows nowadays how it got out, right? But then I have to stay connected, tapped into this program. You hit on something earlier, Jeffrey. And it was to this theme I'm getting ready to say is I cannot adapt this program to my life. I have to adapt my life to the program. Right. If I think I'm gonna come in here and go, okay, I'm still Andrew in control of everything. This is a great program keeping people clean. I'm going to bring it into my life. No. It can't work like that. We have to literally take our life and adapt it to what is drawn out here. And that's where I can stay tapped in and stay away from those fearful places, man. And that anxiety that I'm going to feel when I come up in those tight situations. You know, I use fear as almost like an invitation to grow, right? Fear, false evidence appearing real. And I'll say this one time, but fear is another acronym for that is I can either fuck everything and run or face everything and recover. Right. I choose to face everything and recover, man. I've been running for too long. Been running for too long. But yeah, I get fearful of being alone. You know, I'm still fearful of being alone, but then when I'm alone in my bed, that's when I that little fear, that little bit of fear of that kind of thing creeps in. And then when I wake up or I get all, you know, I look at my phone and I realize that I have all these networks. I got these people texting me. I'm in these chat groups. I'm in all these, in a home group. I'm in all these other groups. It obviously reality sets in. It's like, bro, you've been working the program for 3 years. You have a brand new career. You have a brand new set of you have a new way to live, right? I live by spiritual principles today. What was a spiritual principle when I got spirit? So you're telling me the principal in my school has some spirit, like that's all, you know, spiritual principle. That's the only thing I knew of those two words, right? Just like if you ask anybody outside of this room what NA and AA is, they would say not applicable in American Airlines. They don't have a clue what this thing is, man. You know, and this program is saving people's lives. It has allowed me to take myself out of isolation, and it did for me what I couldn't do for myself, Jeffrey. Like, this disease is the only one that can, like, literally convince us we don't have it. Has us tricked that we don't have it, but it is also the only disease we can talk ourselves out of. We don't need drugs to get off drugs and alcohol. You know, I can talk myself out of this thing. And I've referred to this before, but someone who is recovering from drugs or alcohol and they're in recovery, they're left in a better position than if they even had the disease to begin with. Think about that, man. Think about that. Because you're in recovery right now, you are a better man than you would if you even had your disease to begin with. Like, that allows me to go, okay, I can be everything that I wanted to be and more. I just got to work this program, and I can literally have all those things that I used to see everybody else having and wonder how it is that they're doing what they're doing and happy walking around in their lives. Right? I thought I was in a painting when I was in active addiction. Everything was lethargic, moving different. Right? When I got off drugs, I started seeing the colors for what colors they actually were. You with me? And tasting food for what it really tastes like. And bro, that's a special thing, man. So I'm really scared to get back into that place, man. And I'm really, really fearful of not being able to get prayed back into these rooms because, you know, we do a lot of praying. And you think about how many prayers it took to get your sponsor into these rooms, your sponsor in this room, your sponsor in this room. It's a lot of prayers that had to go in his direction, in our direction for us to be here. You know, think about the percentage it took for your mother and your father to meet each other and have you. It's like a 0.000% chance. So the fact that us three parents had us, we were prayed into these rooms. We're sitting on a podcast right now that's going to be going live later tomorrow. It might keep somebody alive because they're listening to it. They might not want to use drugs. You can't make that shit up, man. You can't make it up. You got to lean into it, man. You have got to lean into this thing because you trusted a lot of dumb shit in active addiction too. You know, when you were drinking and drugging and putting your life in the people's hands that were cutting up whatever dope. You got to do the same thing in that positive way now with the God of your understanding and your new network. Don't be so scared to do that. You know, it's a fact that it's not a fact. It's feelings aren't facts, but it's a fact we feel, right? But everything passes. This too shall pass. Every situation will die down. You got to understand that. I'll pass it. I'm sorry. I went on a little tantrum there.
Okay, Jeffrey, you got to answer your own question now.
Great question, man.
All right. The question was, are there any fears or anxieties sort of wrapped up in this whole concept of surrender? I think initially, when my surrender, like it was the profound, where I had that aha moment where I felt like something physically came out of me and my obsession was removed. There were some other things that were removed too, like things like we talked about this a little bit earlier about finding music that I liked that I didn't know I liked, things like that. Things that I thought I liked, or things that were a part of my life in active alcoholism. I all of a sudden couldn't enjoy some of them. There was movies and music that made me feel off, or like, I don't know, I just saw them different. I was I heard a speaker say one time, like they got really fearful at step three, right before they made that decision to turn their will and their life over. Like they thought, what's going to happen? Am I going to, end up like a missionary going overseas somewhere? Like they're kind of telling it like a joke, but I had some of those fears. What was my life going to look like when I get out of here and I join this thing called AA, and like what is it really going to look like? I couldn't even fathom it because of my situation being locked up and stuff. I couldn't see what a life of sobriety outside those walls were going to look like. I was afraid at who might I lose from my life. I was anxious about all of that. um, Came to find out obviously that nothing was taken away from my life due to my surrender. I've gained just infinitely more. But I did have some fears and anxieties about what life was going to look like. Now that, like, whether I was surrendered or I surrendered, my life was different like that. And I was like, everything being so new. What you just said, Andrew, about like food, tasting food for the first time, like that's all real stuff that we get to go through in this, man. Like, yeah, yeah.
It's
Uh,
beautiful.
it's absolutely insane to think about, but yeah, I don't have those fears or anxieties anymore. Now I'm resetting my day every day, and I wake up and I'm just like, where are we going today, higher power, right?
Jeffrey, do you remember the first time that you looked outside and saw the light coming through the trees?
Yeah.
Bro, it's something that I can't explain. I try to bring it up a lot because I remember sitting in treatment. I remember the first time that I saw that ray of light coming through the trees. And it was like, you talk about spiritual awakenings and things like that. You might not even know it, but when you like, those are little spiritual awakenings, man, and they're beautiful. It's something you don't get in recovery, man. When I'm driving under rainbows all the time, I look up at a rainbow. It's the most beautiful thing I've ever seen. Now, it's crazy.
Yeah.
I didn't mean to interrupt you. I just wanted to, I love.
That's okay. I was kind of coming to an end there. Like I definitely did have them, and I mean, I'm human. I can wake up some mornings and have anxieties and fears creep back in, but I get to reset. We can reset our day. It doesn't have to be every morning. Sometimes you can reset that day in the middle of the day. It's a new 24 hours, man. It's where I choose now where to start that day, and I'm not tossed to and fro at the whims of my alcoholism. It's wild. It's absolutely wild. You know, um, in absolute surrender, we gain absolute victory. Who would have thought?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's the most unbelievable part of it all. It's like you
Crazy.
win in a war laying down the weapons.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's there I was listening to, sorry, going back to it, but I was listening to a really good speaker today. I'm going to talk about it, but this guy was talking about how he does a full set of steps once a year, even 33 years into his program, because for him, what he said, and I never thought of it like this. He's like, you will never kill the ego. He's like, you can reduce it, you can squash it. He's like, but if you don't keep running a full set of the steps, he's like, that ego's gonna creep in, and it might get out of control in some other way than was your original problem when you first came into the program. He's like, but it's the only way he can keep his ego in check. And I thought that that was a really fascinating take because I was like, you know, and I've seen it. I've seen it sneak in, like where I'm like doing good, and then I'm like, whoa, hey, you prideful son of a bitch. What are you thinking? You know? Okay. Through surrender, Andrew, through surrender, the ego softens and the soul begins to sing its true song. How has letting go of pride or control helped your authentic self merge?
Wow. Well, I kind of hit on this earlier. Pride and ego. Ego's edging God out. Pride stands for one of the primary reasons I die early. And I see a lot of that pride and ego stuff that and you know, when I first came in here, I mean, that's all I was pride and ego. But my ego is not my amigo. I think Mikey says that. My ego is not my amigo, right? You know, my ego wants me dead. You know, my ego does not want me around hanging out doing this thing. And so you know, I got to let that stuff go. Once I was able, you know, the surrender process is what kills the ego and the pride, right? If I'm able to surrender to something bigger than me, because I've had control of that self-will and I've had it under lock and key, and I've just been bashing that shit over the head with it my whole life, man. I just been careless as hell with it. You know, I've been reckless, just reckless and just an idiot, you know. But now that I understand that I'm not the one making this whole thing happen, I'm able to like, bro, I wake up every single morning. I thank God for giving me that self-will, and I pray that shit right back to him, man. Immediately. And sometimes he'll hand it to me like on a croissant with eggs and hollandaise sauce on it, right? Like he hands it to me in this thing, like, I know you're hungry, bro. Like in a like a fresh Sprite on and ice, you know, Sprite and I like he'll hand me exactly what I want to eat for breakfast. And as soon as I go to eat it, he'll punch me right in the mouth. Man, I'll go to eat that thing and he'll just be like, boom. Come on, man. Don't, you know what I mean? Come on, man. You know, we've been here a little while now. You need to go ahead and tighten up, man. And those are those days where I wake up late or I'm running around like a nutbag in the morning. He'll just bash me on the head, right? And he'll be like, I don't care how late you are, sit down and pray. And I'll sit down. And you mentioned this earlier, Jeffrey. Like I can reset my day at any time. The serenity prayer, bro. I can hit that serenity prayer at any time in my day and reset my day. You know, and that is such a beautiful, special thing to me, because I remember being in active addiction and being so wanged out by, you know, mid-morning. I'm already a full day of anxiety, and you know, I've run a full day mentally, and I don't understand because I'm not healthy. I don't understand that I can tap right back in. You know, I can just breathe, shut everything else out, and just talk to him. You know, God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, you know, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference just for right now. I'll pump that shit like 60 times. When I was flying to Louisville and back, man, I pumped that shit. I don't know how many times I said the serenity prayer on that plane taking off, because I just have a problem with flying, you know. And so you know, and I wasn't a God guy when I got here, you know, but I understand that there's something going on here, man. I'm not having all these feelings and all these things just by chance that this shit is happening, right? All these things are coming to, you know, I have to be guided by something else, man, because you know, I don't want to live if it's up to my brain, like I wouldn't be here right, you know. So I pray and I stay writing, you know, writing, and it doesn't matter how nasty and ugly my past is, Jeffrey. My future is spotless, even if it's just for right now, for today. Like if I had a shitty day all day, if I take this time to reset and move forward better, like I can be okay with the rest of the day. You know, I'm not pissing all over the present moment because I'm thinking, you know, I got one foot in yesterday, one foot in tomorrow. I'm pissing all over today. That's not where I don't stay there anymore, man. I was pissing every day on today in active addiction. So I don't do that anymore, man. I don't do that anymore. I don't even know if I answered your question. Look, we get off onto these tantrums a lot, and we don't even know if we answer each other's question. But that's the beauty of this thing. So, thank you for asking.
Okay, Jeffrey, through surrender, the ego softens and the soul begins to sing its true song. How has letting go of pride or control helped your authentic self emerge?
Oh, that's a deep question.
I like the doozies.
Well, I think with my pride and ego just running like riot in my active addiction and alcoholism, it's like there's nothing really authentic about any of that. Like you're always trying to be some big shot or this or that and fit into places you don't necessarily belong. I working on reducing pride and ego. I'm glad that it wasn't like something I was consciously asked to do. It sort of happened as I was led through the steps. I think it would have been really hard for me if there was like step 14, sit down and smash your pride. Like I just don't. I It's one of the hardest things to see. It's one of the hardest things to see in yourself, your ego, your pride. I
Yep.
started to see it with the step work, and especially when I got to step 4 and writing out your faults and mistakes. What a simple like concept but absolutely insane that nobody does it, right? Like we have to come into recovery and learn
Love
this
that.
program and get these wonderful 12 steps to go, I'm going to just take a moment and look at where I fucked up. And it's like, what? Pardon my language, but
Oh, you could say
it's
that.
like profoundly, it's just wild. It's just wild. Again, I think all these little things like the ability to ask for help, the ability to accept when somebody else asks me for help. I never ever like really thought that that would happen. But people sometimes ask me for help now, and I have to like maybe I don't even know how to go there, but um, I don't know. I'm still learning. I'm still learning about who my authentic self is, but I know it's hard for me to verbalize it, but I can see it and I know there's changes. And I know now that I'm aware of where my ego had taken me and where my false pride or pride had taken me, I can definitely see it weakening and I'm learning things like humility. I've had people mention to me that they've seen a difference in me or they've seen me become humble. And to me, that's more important of whether I can see it or not. Um, if other people I respect and love in this program see the change in me before I do, I'm good enough with that, right? I'm happy with that. Yeah, I don't know. Don't know if I answered the question
I
again. I keep
loved it.
saying that.
I was right there with you. That was great. Through surrender, the ego softens and the soul begins to sing its true song. I like that it's talking about singing the song. How has letting go of pride or control helped my authentic self emerge? Man, this is WIP, work in progress on this motherfucker right here. So, pardon my French, but for me, it's absolutely been, caught myself doing it. I catch myself doing it all the time. You know, it's really funny. Like, I didn't realize that like self deprecation was pride until about 6 months ago. Like, and that was like, whoa, okay, like to think you're the worst of the worst is also to think you're the best of the worst. Like, and that really twisted my perception on that. And so, like I'm still learning a lot about myself on a regular basis. And so you know, I don't think I was supposed to live a life of misery, and I'm not now. Like that's one of the only things I know about myself is that I'm supposed to be able to be content and happy, and you know have a reasonable serenity in my life. I'm supposed to serve others, and that brings me a lot of joy. Like it's really all I know about myself right now. You know, I think I'm kind of funny sometimes, but then that could be just pride. But you know, you guys giggle too, so there's got to be something to that.
Definitely,
And I
man.
don't think it was at your expense. so, so like I'm really trying to avoid sarcasm. It's something that I really realized that I just don't think is healthy. Like I don't think it's healthy, and it's not something I want to be. Like I don't like the little meanness that's underneath it, and I really just realized that it's something like where I'm like, whoa. And so I've even called myself on it with some people, and I'm like, if I'm doing this, don't let me keep doing it. Like, call me on it. So yeah, I guess I'm getting to know myself a bit, and it certainly is, you know, not from trying to be Mr. Fix It. You know, like I'm definitely actually getting more space in my brain to just think about life because I've surrendered that hamster wheel of the addiction, that hamster wheel of the anxiety and the fear. Like, you know, it's kind of like reclaiming lost territory by surrendering. You know, like all those parts of your brain that just go say, well, okay, I don't have to have that one. I don't have to have that one. I'm like, whoa, look, there's all this space up here now. And that space can be silence. And then that lets me think about other things, you know? It's really quite a cool miracle to be part of. I have to say. I mean, I never would have thought something like surrender would be such a powerful part of the rest of my life ever. Okie dokie. Now, Andrew?
Yes. For a question, ready?
Yeah,
All
boom.
right, Jeffrey, coming to you, my man. So, do you, Jeff, find yourself um resisting yourself to feeling certain emotions today, and why? And maybe what are a couple of those emotions?
Do I today specifically? Do I find myself resisting certain emotions?
Mm-hmm. A little deep, a little deep.
Yeah. You mean like today, as far as where I'm at in my
Yeah,
recovery
do
journey,
certain
or
emotions scare you, right? Do you shy away from feeling emotions,
I
certain
do?
emotions? Yeah, yeah. And and
Yeah.
and what ones and maybe why?
I think anger. I'm afraid of slipping back into old ways where now in recovery I feel like I can recognize it coming. Um, do something simple like pause when agitated and pray. I don't always catch it, and that's been a huge, like, major deal for me. Anger is an emotion that I don't like feeling. I don't. It makes me uncomfortable. I used to drink to not feel it, but the more I drank, the more I'd feel it. Yeah, I definitely try my damnedest to like not let myself get there. And you know what? The process of the program is working. Like it's clearly working. I also don't. I mean, fear. I don't like feeling fear. I try to avoid it at all costs. Uh, I don't do well with loneliness. That one terrifies me. Um, Thankfully, there's tools in the program to deal with all of them. I I never thought ever in a million years because I didn't do good with people, and always my circle would always be very small. Now I have literally hundreds of friends that I've met in this program, and not just, I don't say that just like in a fleeting way, like some really damn good friends, like lifetime friends already. And yeah, so I don't have to feel these emotions today that freak me out. I got tools, like we talked about at the beginning, to help with that. But those are three definitely. When
That's
I
a great
try to
answer.
resist, freak me out.
That was great. That was great. I wrote a couple of those down. I like them. All right, Mr. Milan, you ready?
Yeah. What was the question?
Yes.
I
So
was
what?
on a journey through time and space.
So I saw you when you're like looking like this. I know you're like zoomed in. Beam me up, Scotty. I get it.
I
I
was
love
just
you,
like
man.
listening to
I
Jeffrey.
was
I was
too,
like,
man. I was too.
oh
I was
man, I was
too.
thinking about my friends and recovery. And, yeah.
I was watching him look up and kind of cycle through it. I'm like, yeah, man, that's where I would go with that answer right now. So, do you ever find yourself even now resisting certain emotions? If so, what maybe are a couple of them and why?
Okay, so this is something that I was just thinking about yesterday. And so it's a little bit embarrassing to say, but I'm going to say it because it's the truth. So I think I still really struggle with my self-image, and I feel like I struggle with honesty. Like I shy away from honesty because I'm afraid of people knowing who I really am. Like it's really embarrassing, but I try my hardest to present the real me. But I still, after some interactions, I'm like, that wasn't me. Like that was like, and it's just like, man, 51 years of default and 18 and three quarters or months or, oh, I guess, whoa, tomorrow's my 19th month. Yeah.
Ooh,
That's one
yes.
thing I like about being the first of the month is I always know when the new month's starting. But so I feel that yeah, low self-esteem is definitely plagues me and brings about a dishonesty through it. And
Yeah.
and it was kind of like um oh gosh, even like I really related to what you said about anger, Jeffrey. It's one for myself too, and that's really one of the ones that the surrender has really been coming into play for me for, because I suck at controlling anger. Like I have really, really proven that I can go from 0 to 60 like that. But when I try to shine up this diamond and get myself in a better place, spiritually fit, get rest, eating better, doing some exercise, and surrender it, I'm having a way better time with it. It's happening way less. And definitely the pause in removing myself from a situation. I'm like, oh, time to walk the dogs for the fifth time today. Here we go. See you later. But and that's okay. My door's right there, and the road's right there, and I'm pretty good with it. Like sometimes I need to remove myself, and it's the healthiest thing for everybody around me, and including myself. Like I don't want to be doing something I'm gonna regret. And nor do you want me to do that. Like nobody's like, please hurt me and apologize later. I just love the comeback on that apology. Like, like it's just like absolutely like I can't wait till he yells at me again. Cause man, he comes in with the best I'm sorry.
I love that dude, Dick.
Yeah. Yeah. Could you just yell louder? Maybe break a vocal cord. Slam that
Yeah.
door.
God, I love your voice.
Yeah.
Oh man, that's funny.
Yeah, but yeah, and the overall fear and anxiety level has really gone down through surrendering for me recently, and I love that. So
That's
I'm
beautiful.
gonna leave that there.
Hey, thank you for being open and honest with us, man. That really, I love you. I love you very much, Milan. So Do I find myself resisting certain feelings or emotions? And if so, what are they and how? Yeah, I had thought about this question earlier, so I started brainstorming on it. Um, you know what? I don't like feeling pressured, right? I don't like feeling pressured into doing something, and I pressured or obligated is what I wrote down. You know, that feeling of like you didn't sign up for this really, but someone maybe put your hat in the rink for it or whatever, and then they expect you to act to follow through with something that they had expected. You know, feeling that obligated and pressured to do something that wasn't my idea initially. It's hard for me to step back and look at it, you know, principles before personalities, and go, okay, how should I approach this? Because I feel disrespected, right? If someone makes me feel obligated or pressured to do something, and I feel like it's out of context with how I was rolling, then I almost feel disrespected in a way, right? Um, so I try to stay out of that portion. You know how I do that is I let my expectations be known, and if not, if they're, you know, like I put it in with my relationship that I'm with now, like I can understand when we really are coming to a bad spot about a certain situation. We've grown enough where like I can see that we're just not getting anywhere, and she'll even back up and say, "This is what I need from you in these kind of situations going forward." You know, and we've been able to do that uncomfortably at in those really hairy times where it's like I'm ready to like be like, "Fuck you," and it's like, "Look, this is what I need from you." You know, and we walk away. Pause. Y'all talked about pausing. You know, I don't like feeling disrespected either. You know, that's a, you know, disrespect is not a feeling that I don't think anybody likes feeling. But you know, that disrespect feeling can come from a lot of different angles too. You know, whether you're in service or let's say you're in a business meeting and maybe the vote doesn't go your way and you think that there was some manipulation going on. We can feel disrespected about anything, man. We can feel disrespected about how you made a left turn, right? Man, that butterfly flew that way too fast. I'm disrespected. We can just find a way to get disrespected, you know. I don't like feeling inadequate. I don't like feeling trapped. You know, those are, you know, that feeling of inadequacy is a real, you know, it's a real downer for me, man. When you feel like you put everything into something, but you're not, you know, you're just feeling inadequate. That inadequate feeling makes you want to fall off the face of the earth, man. You just want to disappear out of the room, right? And a lot of that, when you feel that inadequate feeling, it's a lot of times you put a lot of work into something. Milan, you maybe set up for a showing that you had to drive 2 hours to, and then you get there and the guy looks at you like you're a freaking idiot because it's not on the right amount of acreage, has a little bit less than the acres that you're like it's just a shitty feeling. It's a shitty feeling, especially when you put a lot of work into it. And I hate feeling trapped. If you're gonna put me in a position where I feel trapped, man, I'm a caged animal, man. I'm a caged animal. Look out, you know, look out because you know, I'm really quick with the tongue. You know, I can, you know, verbally spar with the best of them, and when I go nasty with it, like, bro, it's like worse than me punching somebody in the face because I'll really remember the deepest thing that we've been in talks about, you know, and I'll throw it right down your throat in a way where you almost have to hit me, almost have to come at me. And that has not happened a lot in my life. I'm talking about with the real close people in my life, maybe at the end of a relationship with a girl, or, you know, my father has been one where it's like, bro, and my father was my running partner doing drugs for a long time, and we got to the point where we almost like, I mean, I can't even think about those. I put my hand through a garage door. I punched through a garage door, like the pane of a garage door, completely because I didn't want to bash him. You know, I had to fix the garage door after that in my hand, but it's the things we do, man. It's the things we do. So I'm just lucky I didn't hurt anybody or kill anybody along the way, you know. So that's the answer to my question. Thank you for asking, Andrew.
I love that, man. Oh, that's great, Andrew. Thank you for
I
asking.
love you guys, man. I love
Yeah.
you guys.
Okay, so
Speed round?
Jeffrey, you got one last question?
You know what? I actually asked all the questions that I prepared.
We
Okay.
got backups.
Okay. So we'll do a couple of what we call at this point lightning round. So I think maybe if you've gone on some Zoom meetings and you see when they put the timer on.
We need
What-
music. We need music for the lightning round going forward, like so, like something. Think about it. Think about it. You're the music man.
I could probably arrange something like that.
That would be fun.
I'll make some like hair raisingly
That's what I'm
Jeopardy
saying.
kind of thing.
That'd be great.
Yeah. Okay, here we go. Andrew, for 1 minute on the clock.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Surrender's the doorway between surviving and truly living. What part of your life has begun to truly thrive since you embraced surrender?
Great question, Milan. Since I've truly been able to surrender, I know what love is. I know what love is. Love has changed my life. It has being able to surrender to something bigger than me has opened up my heart, and the possibilities are endless now. My living clean tells me as long as I'm willing to move towards my dreams, I can blow right through them. And as long as I'm loving what I'm doing, I'm not working a day in my life. You know, I actually do have a career now. It's the first job I've ever had in my life that I'm not super like depressed to go in, right? You know, you got to drag yourself to these jobs and shit. I actually enjoy going to work now. And I don't know if that's because I'm off drugs or I'm in a better place or I know how to surrender or I love myself again. Like, I don't even know what it is, but it's all the above and I'm okay with all of it, right? I'll eat the whole cake. But yeah, bring it all on. And as long as it's got love to do with it, man, I'm in there all day. So thank you for asking, buddy.
Jeffrey, surrender's the doorway between surviving and truly living. What part of your life has begun to truly thrive since you embraced surrender?
My ability or even my understanding of the concept of forgiveness. That was not even part of my reality in the past. If you did me wrong, lifetime resentment, hands down, lifetime resentment. I could not forgive. It was not physically possible for me. I didn't believe others ever truly forgive me. You know, I disbelieved the entire concept of it. It was impossible. Nobody could forgive anything ever, really. Um, but through the process of the steps and mostly through the process of amends, I've learned that it is possible to truly forgive another human and also to be forgiven. Very grateful for that.
Beautiful.
I love that. And Milan, what part of my life has truly begun to thrive or to truly thrive since I embraced surrender? Well, I'm going to say freedom. Like I had no sense of freedom from substance before that. My brain was occupied, like it was like Ukraine. Here we are. Like it was not good. Like it was not good, and that was all I thought about. And so, you know, what that has begun to thrive is that I actually enjoy that 6 or 7 of serenity. Like I was 0 or 11 shooting for 14. Man, I was never ever calm or seeking calm or just wanting like that. Literally, I never understood what serenity was. So to me, even having the glimmers of serenity that I'm granted now, that is truly thriving versus zero serenity of the past. Okay, Andrew,
Beautiful.
question.
All right, this is one of those cool quote questions. Surrender isn't passive, it's active. What are your thoughts on that, Jeffrey?
Yeah, I think almost every concept in recovery in the programs is action based. You can talk about surrender, but uh, what does my life look like today? I mean, I think some of the best people who'd be there to ask would, if we could ask, would be people who knew me before. Um, is Jeffrey surrendered? I think most of those people don't even know I'm sober, but if they saw me today, they would. That guy is some
Who's
whatever
that
that
dude?
is.
Who's that dude?
If you call that surrender, he's got it because like holy shit, That is not the guy. I've actually had that happen in recovery. A guy who used to know me said, I know you, but I don't know you anymore. Yeah.
That's beautiful, man. It's beautiful. That's when you knew you were in the right place.
Right.
I love that.
Yeah.
Can you repeat the question?
Of course I can. Surrender isn't passive, it's active. What are your thoughts on that, Milan?
Well, I think if nothing changes, nothing changes. And so passively would have been letting all that crazy shit still roll in my brain, and I wouldn't be seeking an answer. It for sure is action, because I actually have to release. Like there's mechanisms that are turning off inside me in order to surrender. And the first one is to stop thinking that I am the one who can control something. Like just that awareness is an action, and then deciding that I'm going to act on that awareness, that is the surrender for me. I'm going to leave that there.
It's beautiful, man. That's beautiful. So Andrew, what surrender isn't passive, it's active. Well, yeah, it is. It's got to be active. Running from our problems, guys, is a race that we will not win. You can't run from your problems. You know, the goal here is to get so strong on the inside, right? That literally nothing on the outside can defeat me without asking for my inner wellness's um, what is it? Permission, right? Like I got to get really strong on the inside. How I do that is I stay tapped into not me, because I'm not the dude, right? I got to stay tapped into him. The greatness of a man's power is a measure of his surrender. I got that written down. That's a quote that I heard a long time ago. And pain brought me to surrender. Surrender brought me to peace. Right, I heard that too. And if you ever want to make God laugh, man, just make plans. Just make plans, and see what happens. Because, bro, you ain't the one that's got the schedule here, right? My God's power of love made all my blessings. My faith is gonna schedule. Love you guys.
Okie dokie. Last question here. Each act of surrender is a sacred declaration. I choose peace over power, trust over fear, love over control. What does choosing peace over control look like for you today, Andrew?
Peace over control. I'm so familiar in chaos. I don't know what peace is, and so surrender to what is, let go of what was, have faith in what will be. About my peace place is surrender, right? If I'm surrendering, I'm not worrying about whatever else is going on. I'm in contact and I'm in active communication with that God of my understanding, which is something that, as long as I'm tapped into Him, man, I'm told that spiritual principles can never be in conflict with one another. And so I'm not going to have all these outward influences when I'm tapped in spiritually and I'm living a spiritual life. I can't be in conflict with myself. I'm gonna be on that highway that I want to be on. Not getting derouted or rooted, rerouted to any bad neighborhoods that I don't know my way out of. So, great question.
Thank you. Each act of surrender is a sacred declaration. I choose peace over power, trust over fear, and love over control. What would choosing peace over control look like for you today, Jeffrey?
Yeah, trying to recall where my control got me, trying to remember where I came from. Today, I do a lot of that reflection. I try to look at what it looked like when I steered the bus. But I get peace today knowing that God is on His throne. I am not Him, and that everything, no matter what, is as it should be. I can only see it through my fallible eyes. And currently, to practice that, I go to a lot of beginner meetings now. When I see the newest of the newcomer come into the room, it helps me to remember what unmanageability looks like and what trying to be in control really looks like. The more in control I tried to be, the less control I had.
I love that. Thank you. Each
That's
act
beautiful.
of surrender is a sacred declaration. I choose peace over power, trust over fear, love over control. What does choosing peace over control look like for me today? It looks like prayer instead of stress. It looks like a meditation. It looks like that rainbow that Andrew likes that I love too. I take a picture of. You know, there is so much more calmness inside of me due to surrender. I call it the Jedi mind trick of the program because I really don't understand fully how the mechanism works. And I don't even care if I do because I'm reaping the benefits of it. Like the amount of my brain that gets to have specks and glimmers of silence that never had any before. It's just it's an entirely different existence. And so peace over control looks like peace to me.
Love
Bottom
that
line.
shit. Love that
Yep.
shit. Love you, man.
Okay, well, man, Jeffrey, it's been great having you on here. I hope you enjoyed
That was
it.
beast,
And
man. That was
yeah,
awesome, bro.
yeah.
Thank you for coming
Really.
in here and doing that, man. That was beautiful,
Thanks
man.
for inviting me. It was
Uh,
great.
yeah. So to everybody out there, tune in next episode
Bye,
for more
guys.
recovery fun.
Love you guys.
Talk to you later, guys.
Love you, man. Hell yeah. That was fun.
Please help us help others. If you like what you've seen here today, please subscribe and share this podcast and help us get to 100 followers. We're looking for interaction with our audience. So please email recoveryfreedomrising@gmail.com or contact Milan South Okanagan Starcic on Facebook with questions, topic suggestions, or just comments. We'd love to hear from you.